Welcome back to the Healing Us podcast, and thank you so much for joining us today. Today, I'm joined by Ryan Zofay and Stephen Reel of We Level Up. We're going to be talking about their incredible journey and expansion across the United States and the services that they offer, and we're really excited to have them. So thanks so much for joining me.
Thanks for having us.
Of course. Thank you so much, Ashley.
Awesome. So I want to kick it off today and just get started and hear from you, Ryan, the founder of We Level Up, and just a little bit about your story and how you got started in this industry and just the growth you've accomplished. It's really incredible. Steve was just telling me about your new facility that opened this week as well. So I'm really excited for you guys.
Yeah, absolutely. And thank you again, Ashley, for allowing me on the show. I've been sober for 22 years. And when I think back over the last 22 years of my life, I never could have imagined that this is where I would be at today. And so it's interesting because I remembered, sitting in the detention center, having spent 2 years in juvie, really not knowing what life was about. All I understood was like drug use, abuse, lying, manipulating. And I remember sitting in the juvie detention facility and I was looking at 25 to life. And I was just like, man, like this is what the rest of my life is going to look like. And that was the best thing that could have happened to me because I realized that the only way that I was going to get out of this is if I surrendered and asked God to support me and ask God to help me and work miracles for me. And so that's what happened. I ended up getting another 90 days. He gave me one more chance. And that's when my recovery journey began. And I'm just so grateful for that. I look back at that time and it was like such a scary time for me, but it was probably one of the most pivotal times in my life.
Yeah. And I think most people that do find recovery always have that pivotal chapter, right? And that moment of, I need to change or else this is where I'm going to end up and this is my story. Where did you grow up, Ryan?
So I grew up in South Florida. I am a second generation Floridian, so I'm like a true Floridian. People that live down here from like Northeast or South America, and so I am one of the rare Floridian breeds that you find down here.
Yeah, and you don't live there anymore, though, right? Just to clarify.
No, I'm still here. I live.
Oh, you are.
Delray Beach.
Oh, awesome. Okay, very cool. I didn't realize that. For some reason, I thought you were out in California. Wow. So you ended up in juvie as a young adolescent. Found recovery. Did you find, was there support in the system or kind of what was your guiding light in there?
Yeah, I mean, you hear it all the time, right? It's like hitting rock bottom was necessary, especially for me, because I was just out of control when I was out there on the streets. My mother, my family unit was not very supportive. So my mother was an active drug user. My father was an alcoholic, and I used with them. So I was a product of my environment. And so getting arrested was actually the best thing that could have happened to me because nothing would have stopped unless the law intervened. And so that was like the starting point for me was being faced with like a severe sentence. I needed the leverage to do something different.
Mm-hmm. And I mean, you definitely turned your story around. So once you got out of juvie, what kind of happened from there?
Yeah. And so I was on fire for recovery. Like all the things I was looking for as a child, a community, being loved unconditionally, because a lot of my drug use out there on the streets, I had friends that were conditional friends. If I was able to provide money or drugs or acting out or being wild, they would accept me. And I never felt like I could fit in. I never felt like supported. And so as soon as I got into AA, it was everything I dreamt of. Like I had real friends, people really cared about me. And what was really cool was that I was very popular because I got sober at 16. And so I've only met one person in the 22 years of me being sober that actually got sober at 16. So like it's an anomaly. It was this uniqueness, and I loved it because I already had my mom and my stepdad. They both were in the program. And so I was very popular. And so yeah, being in recovery was huge for me. I was very popular. I was an anomaly because I got sober so young, and I got all the things that I was looking for as a child.
I think that's so amazing because most 16 is so young, to put that in perspective. And most people don't find that kind of community, right? Especially as a teenager, it's so hard to find that community and then remain, committed to it for that long. So super incredible. We have obviously a lot of adolescents come through our doors, and it's a challenge, right? We know that on the treatment side. Absolutely.
It's one of the biggest hurdles, I think, today is, getting the adolescent in the space that he was in, and kind of showing him where they need to be and that they're not alone.
Yeah, absolutely. And getting them through like their milestones, like prom and their 21st birthday, and keeping them motivated is always a challenge. So that's incredible. And your family, you mentioned your family, they also kind of started the recovery journey, or did I hear that wrong?
Right. So my mom, she found recovery a year before I did. And when I went to juvie, she came to the detention center and she introduced Alcoholics Anonymous to me. And she said, read this book. And that's when I started to develop faith. And I started to develop a relationship with a higher power. She was my role model. She was somebody that I was using with out there on the streets. So she pretty much taught me everything that I knew from a negative perspective. And so seeing her come to the detention center, they say in recovery, it's attraction, not promotion. And so seeing her come in and like seeing her life change, I was like, oh my God, this is incredible. But, then again, I was faced with this severe sentence. But it was the best thing that could have happened to me because I would not be sitting here today if it wasn't for that.
No, that's amazing. And, thank you for sharing that. And I also want to introduce Steve. So Steve, can you tell us a little bit about what you do at We Level Up and a bit about what brought you there as well?
Yeah, so I'm part of the business development team in the Northeast. It kind of what brought me here was, like he said, the attraction. And it's not so much the attraction, but it's more the, finding others in the space that you can find them and showing them that like there's a better way, right? Kind of like what we are here is a family, right? When I go down to Florida, like I stay with them. I don't stay in a hotel. Like we're a family, and my day starts with calls to them. My day ends with calls from them or to them. And it's like, that's how we stay so, intertwined in everyone, is because there's really no secrets. I lived my whole life before I got sober full of secrets. It was secrets this, secrets about this, secrets about that. And here I'm an open book here, and they know it.
Yeah. And everyone on the team has a shared experience as well, which is important. Yeah. I think the cool parallels of Healing Us and We Level Up is that we're kind of like, I would like to say, the last like family owned or, founder owned and operated facilities. So many have been acquired by massive giants, right? So it's really cool. And I think that family aspect is so important, and it makes such a big difference. I know on our side as well, like our staff feels like family. Yeah. Like
I can walk into, pretty much every one of our facilities and tell you something about each one of our employees and their families. So can Ryan, so can Adam, so can Sean, so can VJ. We can all do that. And, we live in a space today of like trying to figure out how to continuously serve and help another person, right? Because that's why I'm still here. Some people didn't get the second chance or the 20th chance that I got or that he got, right? So I'm not going to let that, and take advantage of that. Yeah. I need to put it to good use.
Absolutely. So after juvie, fine recovery, Ryan, kind of talk us through the next steps. How did We Level Up become an idea and come to life?
Yeah, and so it's interesting. Every time I reflect back on my life, anything good came from like hitting a bottom or having like a breaking point in my life. And so I was in an industry where I ended up getting sued by the federal government, and I was devastated because I found myself living a life of greed and ego, and being in recovery, being sober. They say like when you have a head full of AA and a belly full of beer, it's extremely difficult. And although I wasn't drinking, my behaviors weren't aligned with a sober person in AA. And so I decided to go to a personal development program called Onsite in Tennessee, and it was a 6-day intensive program where they work on trauma, experiential therapy. And it was the first time I got to see like what was really going on, like why I was doing the things that I was doing, why I was acting out in the ways I was acting out in. And when I was at that program, I was like, you know what? When I was in early recovery, I made a big impact. I was always able to help a lot of guys in recovery because I got sober so young, and I had these leadership traits. And so I was like, you know what? I'm going to leave there and I'm going to open up a program. I had no idea how I was going to do it. I didn't know anything about the industry. And so I started to make phone calls. You know, South Florida is the recovery capital of the world, or was at that time. And so I knew a lot of people in recovery. So I started asking a ton of questions. And I met a lady by the name of Van Jones, who was a consultant. And I told her my desire and aspirations to want to get in the industry. And she hooked me up with a guy who had a program that wasn't doing so well. And so my dad and I invested into the program, and that was the starting point. That was September 2013 is when we started the program.
Wow. So a little over 10 years. That's amazing. A lot of growth, and that's just a cool journey. Especially, I think 2013 was when Florida was like really peaking. So the fact that you were able to kind of jump in and sustain that is amazing. For sure. Yeah. So Florida was your first facility, and then mental health, substance abuse. What's the programs out of there?
So we started 2013. We had a bunch of different iterations of the brand at the time, and I made a ton of mistakes over the last 10 years. And really for me, it all changed when I started to really invest in myself personally. I really started to change who I was, investing more time in my personal growth. And I started to notice that I was changing, and then the people in the company were changing. And then I was like, you know what? Like, I'm going to start teaching and influencing and putting on events for my staff. And I realized, like, if you want to change a company, you have to change the people in it. Mm-hmm. And so August 2018, we started that journey, and it's been a relentless approach to grow personally, professionally, and really just focus on the culture and improve the quality of everybody's lives. You know, think about it, you have a therapist that's working with a patient, and if you're able to serve that therapist and improve her well-being, improve her psychology, her ability to impact that patient is going to be significantly better. And so I started to become obsessed about it. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to spend the rest of my life learning how to heal trauma, heal my psychology, change the perspectives I have on life, and in turn, teach this to my people. And because of that, now we have 7 programs in 5 states. We're in South Florida, New Jersey, Texas, Washington State, and California. And we have an incredible culture, incredible team. As Steven mentioned, you know, we have a family environment, and we're all in it for growth. We're all in it personally to grow and to help the patients grow.
Yeah, it's amazing, and that growth, kudos to you guys. And you know, I know how hard that is. I know the daily grind and just expansion, and it's not for the faint of heart, you know. So it's incredible how you guys have been able to do that and hold that culture. And I think that has a lot to do with what you've instilled as core values of the brand, right? And that gets echoed to the patients as well, which is why your success rates are so extreme. And I know a little bit before this, we were talking about, as somebody, it's interesting to me because as somebody so rooted in 12-step and AA, you often don't see that heavily spiritual component as well. So kind of how have you balanced in your personal recovery? What I mean by spiritual is the holistic, you know, modalities, meditation and things like that personal development side. A lot of it is faith-based, to my knowledge. So how has, like, in your personal journey, what have you found to be the most helpful beyond, you know, the AA components? What are some other, you know, personal development, you know, modalities that you love to do?
Yeah, I mean, you know, primarily speaking to faith, you know, I have a very simple understanding of it, and there's 2 choices in life, right? There's like the positive perspective, and then there's negative perspective. And what I know to be true today is that I am responsible for my perception of the facts, right? The fact is going to happen. You know, people are going to die. People are going to break up with you. You know, things are going to go the way that you want them to. But I have a choice on how I view that fact. and that's my responsibility. And so once I realized that I could look at the positive perspective or the negative perspective, it's going to generate a different emotional feeling for me. And so when I look at the positive perspective of life, it naturally generates a belief of faith. And when you have the belief of faith, you start to feel the feelings and the emotions of anticipation. And anticipation is experiencing something as if you're going to receive it. And so practicing faith, I feel, is the cornerstone of everything in life, because that's your spirit, right? That's what gives you the power to be alive. That's what gives you the power to even be here. Like our hearts are beating in our chest right now. We didn't do anything to earn that. We didn't do anything to receive that. Like, it's a gift. You know, and that's all faith based. And so, you know, there's so many different religions out there. Personally, you know, I'm a Christian. I do believe, you know, Jesus Christ died on the cross for my sins, and I'm so grateful for that. But yeah, so faith is such an important piece. And just to talk on the flip side of that, so when you're looking at the negative perspective, you start to experience the belief of doubt. And when you start to experience the belief of doubt, your feelings are anxiety. And so once I knew this to be true, I was like, you know what, no matter what happens in my life, I am going to look at the positive perspective of the fact. And you'll find it, because there's two choices. You can look at the positive, you can look at the negative. And if you look at the positive, you're going to get a much different experience in life. If you look at the negative, well, clearly you're going to attract the negativity.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. And kind of what you mentioned, it hit home a little bit with the, you know, your heart beating. We say that all the time about breath work. And my brother is a really big, my brother Dan, the CEO of Healing Us, is a big, you know, proponent of breath work. He starts every Smart Recovery meeting that he leads off with breath work. And it's so crazy because we breathe all day. We don't even think about it. It's just a natural thing that happens in our bodies, but we're not actually breathing. We're not actually taking, you know, those deep inhales and calming our nervous system throughout the day. We're not even paying attention to it. So once you become aware of all those, you know, technicalities and things that you can do to really help yourself, I think it's such an awakening. And it's incredible to combine that with faith as well. I think both sides of spirituality are equally as important.
Yeah, 100%. I think it's so powerful. I mean, slowing down long enough to really experience yourself, or to even be conscious, is so valuable. 95% of what we do is unconscious. And so what I've found to be true is the more I'm conscious of my unconscious behaviors and my unconscious beliefs, the more effective, the more impactful, and the more loving I can be. And so to your point about the breath, I mean, it's powerful, because when you slow down and actually feel yourself breathing and experience that, you're more conscious. And when you're more conscious, you have more capability. And so I agree with what you're saying in regards to the breath work. I think it's incredible.
Steve, do you do any work on?
Yeah, I mean, it's like when I first came here, one of Ryan's partners, Adam, you know, he told me I would become a better person professionally and a better person personally. And then, you know, I've started to adopt those traits from them, where, you know, as soon as you get out of bed in the morning, you know, you want to grab your phone, you want to, you know, already drown yourself with what, you know, the problems and what's going on. And now, you know, since I've been here and I've adopted these traits, it's, you know, I get out of bed and I pray. Right. I get out of bed and, you know, I meditate. I get out of bed and I get in my cold plunge, and then I walk around in my backyard barefoot and ground a little bit. And, you know, with some, you know, meditation music to kind of slow the day, refocus, and like get ready to attack myself on where it needs the most attention at that time. Mm-hmm. Right? Because if I go into something, especially in this, you know, field that we're in, and I go into like a conversation or a meeting, or, you know, I show up to one of our facilities and I'm a jumbled mess, they're going to be a jumbled mess.
Yeah, you're not going to provide the best care you can
and
give.
You know, and that's not the mission that we're on here. Mm-hmm. You know, the mission that we're on is to, you know, give them what was given to us, show them the way, you know, hold their hand while they're doing it. And, you know, make sure that the loved one or the family member or the, you know, the husband or the wife is trusting us enough with their person in our care. Mm-hmm. And, you know, we do the personal development seminars. It's funny, like I was actually getting a little nervous, because my first personal development seminar, Yeah, he's laughing. You see him?
There's a story here.
Yeah, he stood me up in front of the room, about 75 people, and I fought him like you would never believe.
You're like, let me sit.
And I was like, I don't know. He was like, well, what's going on? I don't know. Something's going on. I don't know. I was like, I'm not doing this. I finally just said, I'm not doing this, right? So then I flew back to New Jersey, and Adam was we were in a meeting, and he looked at me, and he was like, what happened? And I was like, nothing. And he was like, well, what's the opposite of fear? And I just went blank, and I started crying.
Wow.
You know, and like, cause I was scared to like get vulnerable up there.
Yeah.
And finally, like, he coached me through it, and they worked with me, and they held my hand, and, you know, I'm getting a little emotional now talking about it, but, you know, it's faith. Mm-hmm. And you talked about the faith. So if you have the faith, like anything's possible, right?
Yeah, and I think that speaks volumes, because it's hard enough to be vulnerable in front of a room of strangers, let alone a room of people professionally that you have to...
That's sign your paycheck.
Right. But it also tears down a barrier of that work, you know, personification that we all put on, that face at the office, right? It makes you real.
That's the family environment. Mm-hmm. You know?
It's cool.
That's why, like, if in the morning, like, my days start off with Ryan or Adam or Sean or VJ or, you know, anyone that I'm close with in the workspace and in my personal space, because, like, we're all we got.
Yeah.
We're the ones fighting. Like, this is our forever home, right? We're not going anywhere. We're continuously looking how to serve another individual and help them. Mm-hmm. And if we're not, you know, dialed in a certain way with ourselves, it's not going to work. Totally. So that's what has to.
And the longevity is not going to be there, right? Since we work in an industry with so much burnout and turnover, because actually most places, I would say 99% of places are not like We Level Up with their staff trainings and, you know, things like that. So what would you guys say? Do you host like public seminars? Like, what would you tell other industry professionals? Like, what are some of the resources you use, Ryan, outside of your own seminars, or maybe you do public ones that you can share with the industry that they could try?
Yeah, no, sure. I mean, so for us, you know, fortunately, I've taken this responsibility on, and I do have a mentor that has taught me inner child and experiential work, that he helps me participate in the events, but I mainly facilitate all of them. And we put on personal development events. We do 3 a year, and we do 4 masterminds a year. So we're doing 7 events a year. And then also we do like monthly master classes. Mm. So my feedback to any of those that are hearing this and you're in this industry, you know, set a day and time every single week where you meet with your team and you check in and you start to present some training, something that can impact and change somebody's life. And so every single Wednesday from 1 to 3 o'clock, I facilitate and lead our executive directorship meeting, and I'll teach them, you know, different modalities, different things about psychology, things about limiting beliefs or your emotional state, managing your emotional state. And so what I've found is it builds a character in, one, myself as the leader, and 2, it builds trust in the staff, because they see the guy that's in control or that's in charge, like stepping up and getting in the trenches. And so I have learned, you know, servant leadership is leading by example. And so I'm not the type of leader that is a dictator. Like, I'm not standing on stage, like pointing at everybody like, hey, this is what you need to do. I lead by example. And so they can't say nothing to me, because anything that I'm asking them to do, I'm already doing it. And so what I have found is this has just significantly changed the culture of the organization, because the people are bought in, the people are enrolled in what we're doing here, and they have the evidence because I'm the one doing it.
Yeah. And they're vested, right? I always say, because I'm not a person in recovery, so I'm a sister of somebody who's in recovery. And the sister journey, you know, it's always an interesting perspective, because I can share as somebody who came up alongside of it, like what that was like. And also there was a part of me or time where I was kind of jealous that Dan had gotten to experience like a really amazing, deep mental health, care at such a young age, and that guided him and rooted him in so many different modalities. So my point is, I think it's amazing what you guys are doing there, because as somebody who didn't get to experience treatment or didn't have that community of, spirituality or, different holistic modalities, I've had to go out and search for them personally, which I've done because I'm into that. But there's so many people on a daily basis that struggle just with work stress, let alone, it sets you apart, not only in the industry, but I think just in general and so many things that you do. So that's really cool.
Yeah, I think that like the work stress thing is, so this past Monday, we opened up a new mental health facility in South Florida, in Palm Beach. And, we've had conversations like, oh, are you guys nervous? Or, this is, 36 more beds. It's, what are you going to do? It's, there's so many other, the treatment industry in South Florida is saturated enough. I mean, I think like you can ask anyone here on this team. It's not nervous. It's more of like, we're grateful. Mm-hmm. Like we're able to provide that service. I'm grateful for that. Mm-hmm. And any bumps along that road that come, we're going to fight through. Yeah. We're going to just continue to serve others and give them the help that they're looking for and remain grateful. Yeah.
Absolutely. So talk to me a little bit about the programs you guys have at your different facilities. If somebody's listening that's kind of interested in maybe coming to one of the programs for either mental health or substance abuse, what do you offer at your facilities, and kind of what sets the program apart from the...
So here, and now that since we're in New Jersey, we'll start with New Jersey. New Jersey is a 39-bed detox residential co-occurring facility that is contracted with the VACCN and various other like unions in the state. So, kind of what stands us out from the rest is we're not your typical just short detox stay, right? We're a longer program, and I say this with emphasis, and I say this with pride. Like, our program's not for everybody, and I mean that because we're going to fight harder than you for yourself than you're going to fight in the beginning, and some people don't like that. They don't know how to accept the hug. They don't know how to accept the person pulling you in. They don't know how to accept that, and that's tough for them, right? And then they're crazy, or they're doing too much. Like, what do the kids say these days? Like, they're doing too much, I guess. Yeah, that's what stands us apart. As far it's only 39 beds at over 30,000 square feet. It's a true experience.
Yeah, it's intimate.
Yeah, it's,
although large, but you get a personalized experience.
Yeah, you do. So you're able to meet with your therapist on, basically on call. You're able to, meet with a provider every day if needed. You're able to, have, your case management section navigate through all your FMLA and your short-term disability and all your work issues or your home life. You're able to sit, with a recovery coach. Our alumni team brings in a meeting once a week. We have H&I every night. The backyard outside activities. I mean, I was just in a wiffle ball tournament there a couple weeks ago.
That's awesome.
Right? And I'm playing with the patients in the facility, and that's what this is about. Right. Giving them that experience. In South Florida, we have 3 facilities. We have 1 detox residential facility, again, co-occurring, and then we have 2 primary mental health residential facilities.
I'd love to know Ryan's opinion. Ryan, we do a lot of lobbying on the political front, fighting for mental health res in New Jersey. Our facility Relevance is, we work with you guys a lot, but we like to say we're as close as you can get because our PHP is very, very structured. What's kind of your opinion on the frustrations of the state, and what would you kind of, say to the state to advocate for a mental health res?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely challenging in the state of New Jersey. I know we have not, there's been a barrier to entry for sure. I mean, we've talked about it, but it seems extremely challenging. I mean, it's sad, and that's, but unfortunately, that's the way it is, because there's policy in place, and there's so many things that can be done from a state or government perspective to change the epidemic that's happening with mental health and with substance abuse. And I think Stephen and I did a podcast with the gentleman that is, what's his name, Stephen, again?
Bill Spadian, your
brother's
friend.
Bill, yeah.
Yeah, so Bill, I mean, I love what he's about because he's all about, advocating for change, advocating for us to come together to support and there's people out there that are suffering. It's interesting. I was literally at the gym this morning and I was talking to a friend of mine and he was telling me that he literally was trying to get a hold of his friend, and he was missing for like 3 days, and he went to his apartment and like broke in the door, and the kid committed suicide. And it's sad because if there was an opportunity for that young man to get some help, he may be alive today. And so for me, I'm anything that could drive people to get some help and have some awareness around what's going on and know that they're not alone, I think it is tremendous. And so, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I agree. And I think you guys do a great job with the co-occurring, which is amazing in the state as well. And we could just use the mental health res, I think, for adolescents especially as well. So hopefully we can get there in the next couple of years as a combined force. But I mean,
it's so true. But you have to give kudos to you guys as well. Healing US as a entire, because the work that you guys are doing, especially on the ground, and integrating the farm into the community, and have the personal, homegrown, homemade touch of the family atmosphere. It's priceless because you guys care.
Thank you. Yeah, absolutely. So just to go back to what you were saying, Florida, you have 3 facilities now. You just opened your 3rd. So
we have 3 facilities.
Congrats on that. That's awesome.
Thank you.
I'll come visit soon.
Please, we'd love to have you. Florida, we have 3 facilities. One is a detox res 60-bed co-occurring facility, and that's in Lake Worth. We have a 19-bed mental health res facility in Tamarack, Florida, so further south. And then we have a 36-bed mental health res in Palm Beach.
Awesome.
That just opened Monday.
Very cool.
And that's the journey.
Yeah.
Back to work. It's time to, how can we continuously show up for others and serve them and, remain, humble and grateful at the same time. Mm-hmm. In California, we have a 36-bed detox residential co-occurring facility.
Where in California is that?
It's in Lake Elsinore.
Okay.
So it's like south by San Diego.
Yes. Nice.
It's one of, probably hands down, one of our nicest facilities that Ryan has acquired. There's a lazy river in between it. It's a
nice.
true living like compound, you know what I mean? And it's an experience like none other. And we're actually extremely grateful because June 1st we are contracted with Anthem out there.
Awesome.
So the ability to serve more on our goal of what we're doing is how can we help more?
Yeah.
How can we show up for more people? Is now we're able to do that in the state of California. And then we have all the way at the tippy top, we have Washington State in the Spokane Valley. It's about 20 minutes from Coeur d'Alene, Idaho.
Okay.
And that's a 16-bed mental health res.
Another beautiful area of the country.
Yeah.
Love
I mean,
it
when
up
I went out there a couple months ago, almost a year ago for the first time, and I come out in like, a pair of Air Force Ones and, and they're looking at me like, what's going on?
Typical Jersey.
Yeah. And they're like, they're like, where are you from? And I'm like, New Jersey. And they're like, The Sopranos? And I'm like, yeah. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, but it's, to take the time and be present in the moment out there. Like, you just look up and the mountains are gorgeous, so it's a true getaway personalized, like setting where you can go and focus on your mental health. Mm-hmm. All of our food at that facility is farm to table.
Awesome.
They grow it right there, so it's good. Like it's a true environment. We're seeing tremendous results out there, and it's just something important. And then pretty soon to come, we will be open in Kingwood, Texas, which is probably our largest facility to date. Over 90 beds.
I lived in Austin for a little bit.
A couple hours away.
Away. All right. Yeah. Texas, it goes on forever.
It does.
You could drive. You could be in Austin, drive 10 hours either way.
Well, you got to come visit us in Texas.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. I'll just do a world tour of
Level Up world tour.
Yeah, we'll bring John with me.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, I just want to thank you guys so much for coming on. And, Ryan, can you tell us a little bit what's the long-term goal? Like, what's next for We Level Up? Are you just going to keep expanding? Is there, strategic plan in place, or what's next?
Sure. So for me, I'm on a mission. I'm a man on a mission to impact as many lives as possible. And so, speaking on more stages, hosting more events, growing more programs specifically to specific niches. so that we can impact more lives. We're looking to maybe venture into some Medicaid programs. We want to help as many people as possible. That's our mission. That's what we know we're here on earth to do. And so anything that has to do with giving back and making a difference is what we're gearing up for.
I think you have to host a We Level Up industry conference for staff.
We could do one together.
There you
Us,
go.
Healing US and We
Perfect.
Level Up. Yeah.
Well, how can we find you online?
Yeah, sure. I mean, my Instagram would be the easiest. It's my name, Ryan.Zofay, Zofay. Everything that I'm doing is there on that page. Events, different programs we're opening, whatever that we have going on, we post it there.
Awesome. Thank you guys so much. It's WeLevelUp.com. It's the main website. And I just want to thank you guys so much for coming.
Thank you.
Yeah.
This was great.
great.
Thank you.
It was awesome to Zoom you in, Ryan. We appreciate your time.
Thank you so much. God bless.
Thank you.
guys.
Bye-bye.
Don't forget to close.
And thank you for joining us. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button to hear more from Healing Us.